Are you able to take control of it?
Yeah, let's see here. All right. Can you see my screen?
I can. All right, cool. So let's start by just going through kind of like a background of the site, some of the issues that you're having, and then the specific questions that you have for me and how I can help.
Cool. All right. So we've got pickwizard.com. So obviously I've asked a couple of questions about this in the Slack group as well. So you might remember or might not. But basically to give an overview, right? So we launched the site a little about maybe 18 months ago. So I think it was, sorry, no, it's a little bit more. It's coming up in 2 years. So it's October 2017 that we launched it, okay? And we didn't really concentrate on it except for building links. So obviously I've done your link building course, so building links would kind of be my main thing. And as you can see here, like we've built out a pretty good link profile. Like I know obviously these are just third-party tools, but at the same time, it's a pretty good indicator of the strength of the site when you go and look at the referring domains that are pointing towards the site and see that we're getting links from the likes of Adobe and HubSpot and strong sites. We've built out a pretty good link profile. So what's happened is we've pretty much neglected everything else on it for the last for the last year, except for the link building. So in the last 2 months, I've kind of started to concentrate on it again a little bit more and started to notice some of the kind of technical mistakes that we were making. So obviously as well, I wouldn't have been big and technical. So I've, learned a lot on that in the last 2 months and found a couple of different things. Like for example, the server side rendering wasn't working. So we fixed that. Small things then as well. Like, so we like stuff that I didn't even notice. So previously it used to say open a new tab on every single image. And that used to be a H1 in every single image, So just fixing the kind of basics and just getting a H1 there and getting getting your H2 as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. But basically in terms of traffic, right? These numbers are fairly accurate in terms of organic traffic. Like at the moment, the site has about 18,000 visitors a month, with a bit over 2,000 visitors coming from organic. But the rest then are coming from referral links. And when I look at the the link profile, and when I look at some of the other keywords that are, sites that are ranking, and look at the number of referring domains and stuff for search terms like free stock photos, free stock images, we've got a better link profile, like by a mile, so you can see here there's 718 referring domains, 334, 40, 33, and most of our links are going to our homepage. Then, when you look at the keywords that we are ranking for, we're in the top 4. We're in the top 4, we're just struggling to get onto page 1. So something's missing. I'm missing something now. Obviously, as I said, I'm making changes, and we've also started adding these kind of most popular pages. So these are specific landing pages that we've built, like American flag background and everything else. But these are they're not very competitive. They're high search volume, but they're not very competitive keywords. There isn't a lot of other free stock photo sites, So yeah, something's just not right here, and I'm obviously missing it. As I said, I've started to get into the technical stuff, and I've started to make changes within that, but I think I'm missing something, and like your opinion on what that maybe is.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just kind of go through this. So go to the website real quick, and basically the question that you asked too in the notes was that you're having issues with indexation, right? You've got
So basically there's 70,000 pages on the website. Let me I have my notes here. So yeah, 70,000 pages on the website. So according to the Search Console, there's 6,500 valid URLs, 3,300 submitted, 3,100, and then the 67,000 that are not indexed. So from that number, it's 64k that are discovered not indexed. Now, obviously, as well as I said, with the technical stuff, we were kind of screwing up with the sitemap. The sitemap wasn't great. So what I've done now is I've gone ahead and added all of the URLs to the sitemap to try and get them crawled. So we've got the general and everything else, but and an images sitemap too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's obviously how Search Console has found them, but we didn't even do that before. But I suppose the big thing is I think that if we can start to get those get the rest of those pages indexed, I think it's going to give us a good chance, because if you think of something like galaxy background as a search, the first results here, what is it? Is there's 12 of those? They're all images. So I think we have a good chance of getting that, because I basically ran an experiment recently where I just
Nice.
so I just changed the file name, the alt image text or whatever, and I'm the most handsome man in Ireland apparently. So like what we've done as well, as I said, like, or I haven't said this, but like with all of these images, we've now added the alt text, we've now changed the file names so that they're including keywords. And I think the lowest hanging fruit for us is probably these kind of results where we can get them. But like I also feel that the lack of indexation is probably what's holding us back in that regard then too.
Yeah, I would imagine if those pages aren't indexed, then it's going to be really hard to get those images indexed and ranked too. So you already went ahead and added all the alt tags across the website for all the images?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, what it does is we just put a piece of code in that it defaults to whatever. So if I inspect that there, it defaults where the alt is the description, I think it was. Sorry, no, I don't know why that's not showing up properly. But yeah, we've done that anyway, basically. So that was one of the things I identified with the technical stuff, and we've added that in.
Yeah, absolutely. And have you done any sort of kind of like crosswalk analysis to see which pages on the site are getting indexed versus which ones are not?
Yeah, and there's nothing really
There's no
like
trends.
different. No, so like if you take a page like this, for example, which is a specific image page, or you take this, which like this is this one is a curated page. So there's pages like this that are indexed, and there's pages like this that aren't. Same story here. There's these type of specific image pages that are indexed, and there's others that aren't.
Okay.
Nothing kind of really commonsensical there or whatever.
Okay, so a few things here. Hit that drop down filter for you. That's going to be was that your menu? Where's your top level navigation?
The top level navigation is here.
Oh, okay, wow. Okay, so that would be number one for me. Is that it like, especially because you have so many good links, is that you're definitely going to want to design some sort of like mega menu navigation.
Yeah. Okay.
That's going to pass the equity across the website, because if you look at it this way, basically what you're telling search engines is that you only have like 8 pages that are worthy of your top level navigation, right? So what I would do is I would go through and I would design or hire a designer to do it. Do you have a designer?
Yeah, we have an in-house UX.
Yeah. So what you're going to want to do is basically kind of handle like the UX and go through and say, what are the most important category pages? And get those all in, and just figuring out how you can kind of mash those in. I would look at like big e-com websites like a target.com to see how they're doing it, to see how they're like passing that equity across, just to get an idea. If you just pass that directly to a designer, they're going to botch it. It's really, really important that you figure out what are your key category pages, that and how you can maximize kind of that space to pass that equity from the top level navigation. Something else that I would recommend would be adding in a HTML sitemap that lives on the website, right? So, do you have one of those now?
No.
Okay, so what I would do too is I would link to that from the top level navigation and from the footer. It's a little bit old school, but when you have a website this big, again, like those internal links, and especially if you're putting that HTML sitemap in key places on the website, that's going to tell Google that's important. So that in itself, those two things in itself should help to pass a lot of link equity. Cool. What have you been doing for internal linking? Have you done?
Yeah. So at the beginning, we put some of our kind of like the most important ones, or not the most important ones, but like high search volume and stuff within here. So one thing that I've identified and we're working on now is within these most popular pages, I'm going to add a section here where we're internally linking across all of them. So let me think of an example. Just bear with me there. So I just think the way that these guys have internally linked across these is pretty clever. So like they've got these templates, landing pages, and they're internally linking into every other page within the site. So every time, so if I click on book covers, my URL is changing, but there's a side menu. So we're probably going to add that in. So I'm just getting the UX guy to do a design around that.
when you do that, and this will kind of feed into my other question too. When you go back to Canva real quick, that left-hand navigation, that's what's called a faceted navigation. This is like actually an e-commerce kind of concept. You have to be very, very careful when you're setting this up. And I know you already had issues with like canonicals and like when you're doing this, you have to make sure that because what can happen is if you're adding on different filters, you just have to make sure that there's only one way. There's only one indexable URL for that. You know what I'm saying? So for example, I saw that on your filter page. Go back to your website now.
Yeah.
So on your filter, hit one of those other filters. Yeah. So that sort equals latest. That's those that, like when you're adding in a sidebar navigation too, what's going to happen is you're going to start to generate all these additional URL strings. You have to make sure that you're either using canonicals to point back to the root URL. So if you're generating all these additional query strings at the end of it, so for example, if you filter for latest and then on the sidebar you have like America and then you've got like another one that's like maybe for like image sizing, it's going to generate all these different things. So if you go to like a Nike.com or if you go to like an e-commerce website and you see how their navigation is kind of like changing as you go through it, it's something that you really have to keep in mind. So this is another like good example of a mega menu, how they're like really dispersing all these things across and it's still super clean. And it's actually better for the user too, because it's going to help them find stuff a lot faster. So that's just more considerations. I actually have a blog post on our From the Future agency website about faceted navigation. I strongly, it might even be on Webris actually. Just type in faceted navigation. It might be on Webris. Yeah, it's going to type in Webris instead of From the Future.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So can I read off that top?
Yeah, that's going to be a really good reference point for going through these things. So then while we're on this topic of kind of like faceted issues, did you get that thing resolved with those canonicals?
Yeah. So we removed we just basically self-canonicalized all of the pages.
Can you show me some examples of that just so I can look through them?
Yeah, let's see. I can't remember the exact page. I think it might have been these guys here. So let me just double check.
Just click on one of those anyways, yeah. I just want to see what happens.
So canonical, no, it might have been the actual images themselves. So sorry, it's rel equals.
It looks like the canonicals are gone now.
Yeah, maybe we just removed them all together. So,
that's fine.
I think we just removed them. So I thought we were going like self-canonicalizing.
So as you're going through this kind of like UX and faceted navigation issue, you're going to want to keep canonicals on the website for obvious reasons because they're pretty important. The other thing that you might want to look into doing is, again, I don't have like a full crawl of your website and like how it's organized and stuff, but if you have this many pages, I do think that you have the authority to support it. I just don't think it's being distributed the right way from a links point of view. So like something else you might want to look at is like blocking sections of like low quality sections of the website that are just not reaching this stuff to kind of like pick up the indexation rate over time. Because what might be happening is that you have a huge discrepancy for pages that are indexed versus pages that are not, like a really, really large amount. You know, if you have 7,000 pages on the website and only 3,000 or so are in there, 7,000 are indexed. That's a massive, massive discrepancy, especially for something for a website that has as much link authority as yours does. There's definitely something that Google is not liking, either like URL strings, just reading it as like duplicate content, low quality content, thin content, whatever that may be. But if there's sections of the website maybe that you can block just the crawl of completely and just kind of remove them for the short, like if they're not indexed, it doesn't matter now anyways, to just see if you can pick up the overall indexation rate of your website and then gradually do it. There's actually a really good article by this dude, Kevin Indig. He's a really, really good technical SEO where he talks about, his name's Kevin Indig. Yep. He's got a really good technical SEO newsletter, by the way. I strongly suggest you just subscribe.
Cool, I'll check it out.
He talks a lot about these things that you're going through. But one of the things that he's like really big on is when your website doesn't have the authority to support the number of pages on your website, right? So
Yeah.
7,000 pages is a lot, even for a website with as much authority as yours. And his internal linking stuff too is also really, really good that you're going to want to look into. Like, I think that it's a combination of things. I think that there's probably some sort of technical thing. Like, I still want to go through this a little bit more while we have time to maybe try and figure out what it might be. But then also just looking at ways that you can improve. This is a really good article you should read.
Cool.
Ways that you can improve your internal links to pass that equity. So like, go back to one of your pages, one of your product.
Okay, I like one of these guys.
Yeah. So just click on one of those images and scroll down. So
sorry, yeah, this is something else that we added as well in the last couple.
No,
of
that's
weeks.
good. I was going to say, so like, actually right click on one of those and just inspect one of those images. I just want to make sure that it's passing equity. Sometimes images can be framed as like no follow. Yeah, go back up where it's highlighted. Click on that little span thing and just, yeah.
Oh yeah, this guy. Or is it, sorry, this one?
Yeah, so that's good. Scroll down a little bit. So where it says Ahrefs, so that's going to be the link. Something that you might want to look into. This is a debate again. When you're at this level, like, all the little things can matter. So that where it says Ahrefs, that link right there, that Ahrefs link, that's what's called a relative URL. A relative URL means the shortened version of the URL. You see how it doesn't have the pickwizard.com in front of it?
Yeah.
That is like a developer tactic. Like, basically the reason why you do that is because when you work on do you have a staging domain? Yeah,
we do it.
So when you have a staging domain, right, basically what you do, and I'm going through this now, you have your staging URLs, which is going to be a completely different root URL, but the folder structure is going to be the same. So what the developer will do is he'll strip the root URL out. And when he's migrating that to the live domain, that's how they make sure that your staging URLs are not internally linked, right? So that it's a developer like shorthand way of basically kind of like hacking URLs.
Yeah.
This has not really been proven either way or not, but there's a lot of theory in the SEO community that says that for bigger websites like this, you should use the full URL instead of the shortened URL, because then it will pass more equity. So that might be something that you can also talk to a developer just to make sure, again, when we're talking about these little things like passing internal equity through links, that might be something that might help out. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass for them, but it's just something that you can just implement going forward. I might also say to look into ways that you can add more text internal links across pages. So like for related images, for example, if you could add in like a text link to like a category page underneath it, just another way to add in more like internal links.
Okay.
Which might be hard to, again, because when we're talking about dynamically generated page templates, it can be challenging. Okay, let me see here. So you can close the inspect.
Cool.
And strip out after where it says free lighting image, strip out that URL.
Shit, man, I can't see where it's at.
Up in the URLs bar.
Here?
Yep, just strip out everything after free lighting image. Strip that out and go. So basically what I'm trying to see here now is if there's an issue with potentially this page being duplicated. So like, I guess you could tell me, because this is your website.
Pretty sure that there is, yeah. Like so basically there's two types of photos on the site, right? So there's the photos that we actually own and we're making them free. But then there's the Creative Commons types of photos. So the types of photos where people have waived the copyright, and we're putting them from lots of different places, but they don't get keyworded as well. So I do think that's probably an issue as well, where we have probably, pickwizard.com/photo/free lighting image 15 or 20 different times, but like with different image identifiers afterwards,
So again, so what I see happening here too is it doesn't look like this page is loading. So I mean, what might be happening too, and this might be right, it might not be right, but if that whole subfolder of free lighting images not loading, it's then basically that equity again might not be getting passed down to that image that we just looked at with the extra URLs at the end. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, which could be a reason why you like a lot of these kind of like shorter, like longer tail pages are not getting picked up at all, because it's just not, the equity is not passing, and Google doesn't even really know those pages exist. Like they're not even getting picked up in your sitemap. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Search console.
And those, I forgot to mention as well, like those 67,000 that were excluded or are excluded, like they've only showed up in the Search Console in the last week or two because we've basically put all of the URLs into the sitemap in the last week or two, So before that, Google didn't even know that they existed.
Yep.
It's just, so like there's something wrong with the crawl there as well,
Yeah. So this is a challenge, man, because like if this is happening, you'd have to go through and do like a URL architecture and then do like a major series of redirects, which is it's a big job on a site like this, because of like when you're using these dynamically generated templates and like you want to scale up and add more and more and more, fucking with your folder structure is kind of a big deal. But again, like this could be something that you want to explore a bit more and see if there's a fix to that. Because I mean, if your root pages aren't loading, then why would why would Google waste time just crawling to the next subfolder down underneath that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's a challenge. That's at least 404ing, So those would be kind of like my suggestions off rip.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the top level nav for sure. Definitely the HTML sitemap just to pass equity. And then, looking into those issues with folder structures not passing, that would be it. Have you run like a full website crawl, like in deep crawl or?
Yeah, so I've run deep crawl. It was still going. It was 2 days long, and it was at like 14 or 15,000 URLs. So I paused it, but I probably should just run the whole thing. But again, I suppose I've no problem creating content. I've no problem building links, but this stuff is very fucking new, So it's
which is awesome. You just said you're at the other end of the spectrum now too. When you get to these big sites, and this is where the money is too in these huge sites.
Yeah, hopefully.
It becomes. I mean, you just got to get the traffic up, and the money will come. But this is a technical SEO project, and I know technical SEO, but I wouldn't say I'm at like the top. Like you need a technical SEO monster to come in and, maybe pick their brain for a little bit. Like you've got a list of things now you can go to them with, so you don't have to pay for like a huge audit. But like, again, to get a second opinion on this is definitely there's definitely some technical things that are holding you back here for sure. And again, like those are my thoughts just from looking at this, but I would definitely say like let deep crawl do its thing, get a full crawl. It's probably going to take like 3 days to crawl the site. But get that full crawl, see if you can get any insights from there, because deep crawl is actually super intuitive. It'll pick up a lot of these things. I would actually put that at the top of the list. Like go get a full crawl. Definitely get a top level navigation, definitely get an HTML sitemap. And then you can start, and then also like those canonicals, I wouldn't remove them completely. I would just put canonicals back in. And like, just like we just did, is just kind of like just manually clicking through your, like the different URL paths, and just seeing if there's any like duplication of pages. If there's a better way that you can use canonical tags and just write the rules for canonical tags. So that like, again, that if you do like what I was
any resources you recommend in the canonicals?
Not that I can think of. I mean, canonicals to me, they're just kind of a little bit more intuitive. Basically, are you familiar with canonicals and how they work? Because I can give you kind of like a crash course.
Yeah, for the most part, like, it's like, I suppose you've got your 301 is your 301 is your like hard way of telling Google this is the right page. Your canonical is your kind of soft way of telling Google this is the right page. It can kind of ignore it, or it doesn't have to.
In a sense, canonical tags are basically built for sites like yours that have kind of like either UGC or dynamically generated page templates that are going to spin off crazy URLs. But essentially the content on the page stays the same, because you don't want to redirect it, right? Because you need both versions of these URLs for users to access that content. But from a search engine point of view, if you're spinning off all these different like crazy URL queries. And if you're constantly adding more content, canonicals will stop Google from reading it as basically duplicate content. So in your case, especially if you only have images on the, like if your content is images, Google doesn't really see and distinguish those as
Yeah.
two different things. I mean, they do, but like it's still going to be viewed as like very thin content if there's no like
Yeah.
text or
One
media.
thing actually I forgot to mention, we've started writing content for these most popular pages as well. So
Good.
the structure of these is going to change. Where you've got your H1 is going to be like 150 words here, and then at the bottom we'll have a H2 and another 100, 150.
Yeah,
Kind of hoping that will kind of increase the relevance then as well.
that's perfect. I mean, I was gonna tell you that too. Also, too, is this paginated with
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's another thing that can happen on big sites like this. You have 300 pages of this that would just all be read as duplicate, and it would definitely crush potential indexation. But do you have that's the best I can do for this time period. You got any more
No,
questions for me
that's
while
pretty good, man. That's pretty cool.
you got any more quick questions for me before I pass it?
So you mentioned like talking to a technical SEO guy, I suppose. Do you have any technical SEO blogs, other technical SEO blogs that you should check out, or is there any specific technical
I,
SEO
you know,
people that are gonna
I'm gonna PM you on Clarity. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm gonna PM you on Slack and
yeah,
give you some people that I recommend on Clarity. So Clarity is an awesome platform. I actually use it too when I have problems like this. Um, to be honest, it's probably the most underrated platform. Like if you go to Clarity with a list of things like you have now,
yeah,
and you just 15 to 30 minutes of someone's time, it'll probably cost you like $100, $200.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and yeah, I mean that I do it all. I use it all the time. I use it when I have like a very specific problem, either with like development, advertising stuff like that. I'll just book it. You can book like 5 minutes to an hour worth of time on someone's calendar. You get on a call, you send them notes ahead of time, and basically just what we just did. But someone who's like, I see myself as more end-to-end SEO, more end-to-end marketing business. Like I know technical SEO, but the problems that you have, like you need somebody who can like really get in and scrub these things. So I have a couple people that I use for like major technical SEO questions, even with clients. I'll drop you those profiles, and yeah, I mean you're not far off, man. This is definitely something that like a few small technical changes and your site is going to fucking
yeah. Like
for
I have a
sure.
serious link profile built out, so it's fucking frustrating. Then when I can't
Yeah,
get that jump, but I know that there will be that one thing that'll just make it go like
yeah,
that.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean keep plugging, man. You're definitely close. And the traffic potential for that site is humongous.
Yeah.
That's an awesome business. I'm jealous that you have that. That's a really good
Yeah, I
asset.
don't own it though. I'm staff, so that's the other
Oh,
side
your
of it.
staff. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought that was
yeah, yeah.
yours. Either way,
No, man, I wish.
either way, the like whatever you do next, like you've pretty much run the gambit. Like that's really good SEO that you've done to date for sure.
Cool.
Really good.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right, brother. We'll chat in Slack.
Perfect. So I'm trying to
Um,
mute myself there. So thanks very much.
no problem. Rai, are you there? You want to take over the screen? Let me see here.